I read SaaS blogs for a living. A few years ago, you could open 5 competitor blogs on the exact same topic and walk away with 5 different arguments. Today, you can open 10 tabs and find the exact same point repeated across every single page. The only difference is the company logo sitting at the top. The usual reaction is to blame lazy writers, or maybe claim that marketing teams are just using the wrong prompts. But the research from the past year points to something else entirely. This line graph shows the volume of AI-generated content over the last 3 years. Graphite and Ahrefs data reveals half of all new articles on the web are written mainly by AI, and almost 75% contain machine-generated text. It suddenly became infinitely cheaper to publish text, and because nothing replaced the old bottleneck of human time and effort, the sheer variety of ideas on the internet quickly flattened out. Large language models operate on a simple mathematical premise. They calculate and return the most likely sequence of words. Because the math naturally points to the highest probability, the most likely answer is identical for everyone who types in the same question. Researchers at Wharton actually tested this in 2025. They ran an experiment where people were asked to complete creative tasks, like inventing a new toy using only a brick and a desk fan. The control group worked alone without any AI assistance. As you might expect, they came up with a highly varied, 100% unique pool of ideas. But the Wharton test revealed a paradox. When individuals work in total isolation from one another, but use generative models to help them think, the math guarantees they will converge on the exact same thoughts. When we look at the group from the Wharton study that used ChatGPT to invent their toy, the scale of that convergence becomes obvious. This scatterplot compares the groups. On the left is the dispersed field of unique human ideas. On the right, a dense cluster representing a 94% overlap in the AI group. Hidden inside that tight grouping is a specific detail. 9 separate individuals independently named their toy Build a Breeze Castle. The model isn't acting as a brainstorming multiplier. It operates as an aggressive funnel, pulling human creativity down into a single, tightly localized center. This issue compounds when you look at modern search strategies. Formats designed for AI and Google search engines encourage writers to use identical question-based headings and direct answers. It's similar to how academic papers are structured. Every paper uses the exact same phases: abstract, method, results, discussion, and nobody minds. That rigid structural similarity is actually a good thing. It acts as a clear, predictable container that allows search algorithms to easily parse and retrieve the information. The crisis starts when writers stop putting proprietary substance inside of it. A highly optimized container does you no good if the claims, evidence, and examples inside are exactly the same as your competitors. Publishing empty containers carries an algorithmic penalty. Recent studies of over 30,000 keywords show that 86% of articles ranking on Google and 82% of those cited by AI engines like Perplexity are completely human-written. To bypass this homogenization, you have to audit where your claims actually come from. You can do this using a framework called the Content Origin Check. The bottom tier is retrieved information. These are definitions and standard benchmarks already saturated within AI training data and shared across dozens of competitor blocks. The middle tier is rearranged information. This is existing data that has simply been reorganized or given a fresh framework label, which is where most SaaS content lives today. This pyramid illustrates the hierarchy, with recorded information sitting alone at the sharp peak. This is data that exists strictly because the author personally observed it, like the specific results of a failed experiment, or direct quotes from a customer interview. When digital execution is practically free, a brand's survival depends entirely on changing the origin of its inputs. There is a quantitative threshold to this. If fewer than 1 in 5 claims in your article falls into the recorded tier, you are competing purely on execution in a market where execution costs nothing. Hitting that threshold requires new habits. You have to write your argument before opening a model and pull inputs strictly from internal sources, like support tickets, sales calls, and product data. It also means publishing what you are unsure about, or what went wrong. Generative models default to a sort of synthetic cheerfulness and mathematical certainty, making an honest account of a failed launch highly differentiated. Anything a model can write for you, it can write for your competitor. They can copy your features over a weekend, and they can match your keyword coverage in an afternoon. The ability to perfectly replicate text is already here. The only inherently scarce resource remaining in digital business is your own unrecorded reality.